Hello, and welcome back to our Space Engineer Survival Series. So I let the program finish running to go all the way down with the pistons along the side of this conveyor junction here. I went ahead and drilled those off and replaced them with the conveyor tubes and pistons here. I got the drill on there, but I can't quite fit it here without it colliding, so we'll just get this all welded up and spin it around some so that we can do that. We're going to use the build planner for the construction here. Couldn't pull some of it. Which is no surprise, really. We can do that part. And it would draw all that stuff. Alright, we'll get it from up here. I disassembled the leftover parts that we had. Put the remaining stuff that we need now back into production. Pull out as much as we can hold. Which looks like it will be all of it, at least for that side, which is the side that doesn't actually have the drill on it. Alright, now that that's done, it should have a build planner cleared. It does. And then we'll do the other side. Pull what we can out of here. This is where I stuck everything as I was drilling or grinding the drills apart. And 169 other components. It's going to take a minute. I'll up here and recharge everything. I parked the welder back up here as well. just using one basic assembler with no upgrade modules on here, so it's taken a little bit longer than it would if we were doing it at the SIC, but that's alright, because we got all the stone on site to make most of this stuff. The only thing we needed to do was bring some metal grids from the SIC, because we need cobalt for that, and everything else we can make out of the iron, nickel, and silicon we refined from stone. Looks like we really fit everything else we need in our inventory once this is done. So I'm just middle clicking to pull this stuff out. Shift middle click queues it all up. Alt middle click would drop everything that I have in. There we go. And we are still going to need to do one more drill once we get this spun around a little bit. Alright, so now that's done. And what I want to do is I want to basically turn this 180 degrees. This will be drill 1. Call this radial piston 1L. L and R is kind of arbitrary. Now these are not getting prefixed because the controller is turned off at the moment, as is the advanced rotor. So we're at 248. If we want to go 180, we want it to be 68. Thereabouts. Actually, I should probably turn this drill on. Because that drill might encounter some rock on its way around. Don't want it to snap off. It should do. Yeah, see, that's drilling at the moment, which is fine, but we needed the drill to be turned on so it didn't just bump into the rock and get stuck there. Twice, it did edit twice. Did it account for the change in plate count? It did the second time, not the first time. Okay, that's everything out of there. Does it account for it? Yes, it does. The rest will need to be built. Shift middle click. All components successfully put to production. Steel plates and some other things. Go ahead and recharge rather than just sitting here clicking. See since I need to recharge anyway. There we go. Alright, so we're still a little bit close here. So what I think I want to do is I want to run the program as it is. So it'll keep it spinning slowly. You know, do a full rotation, move down, do a full rotation, move down. Just to get it to the point where we're drilling outward instead of drilling down sideways, if that makes sense. So the first thing I need to do is get in here and actually I'm just going to rename this drill as just plain drill because they're on separate subgrids technically. So they can just be drills. And I'm going to group them. PTS1 drills. Now they're both on. I can take them off the terminal because they're not really helpful there. Turn this rotor on. And get up out of the way so I don't get run over. I was looking for a control panel on the piston, but I think I'm actually just going to stand here at the programming block instead. No, I'm going to go sit in the cockpit here so I can stay charged up. Okay. Now remote access, Platinum Station. This is the elevation piston. So I'm going to reset its maximum distance to 1. No, I'm going to reset its maximum distance to 0. I'm going to set its speed to 0.02, so it's going down again. You know, when it's actually moving, it's not going anywhere right now because the maximum distance is set to where it's currently located. And then I'm going to turn this back on, and I'm going to recompile it. And that renamed all of our bits to include the prefix. I also edited the program so that it would show us the degree marker where it's set to go down instead of just saying rotating, because that was not helpful. That's just math helper dot 2 degrees of angle, if you remember from last time. Right here, and then to string. So while this is running, we can start on the script rewrite that we want to do. We just won't mess with the main method until we're ready to. Which incidentally also means we can't really test it, but that's fine, that's not a problem. At least not at the present moment. So start off with, we're going to need some lists. We're going to need a list of my extended piston base. And this will be for the elevation pistons. Get my capitalization right. Need a list. Well, basically we're going to need a whole nother one of these. Except instead of elevation pistons, It's going to be radial pistons. And then we need a list of ship drills. Before that, I forgot. My advanced motor stator for the rotor. I am just going to go ahead and create this as a list, even though there's only going to be one in there ever. And I'm not going to worry about cargo, because we'll grab that on the fly. Because we only need that in the one method to actually check the cargo level. We don't need it in the other ones, at least not for now, I don't think. So, first thing we're going to do is grab the elevation pistons. And we're going to do this the same way we did on the uranium station. Because there's only one here, but since this is designed or expected, the goal is for this to be more general purpose than the one on the ice station, and even more general purpose than the one on the uranium station at the moment, because that one's hard-coded at the moment to 3. We're going to find the one where the cube grid is the same, because construct includes things on the other side of rotors and pistons. We want the one that's not on the other side of rotors and pistons. We want the one that is directly attached to the exact same cube grid as the programming block. And then from there, we need to find the ones that are oriented the same way. And there shouldn't, the problem is that there aren't any in this particular case. So this is going to be difficult to test. Advanced motor stator can't be found? That's what it was called. Is it called an advanced rotor stator? No. Why do I not remember what it was called? Alright, I'm going to check and see what it's called, instead of trying to guess. Just be a minute while I wait for my browser to cooperate. Motor advanced stator. That's weird. That's just weird. Why would you name your shit like that? Sorry, language. So it is motor. It's back here. Not there. My motor advanced stator. Weird. Cannot convert from direction to string. Okay, well, you know, if I call to string, you can. Up is down. Oh, I probably forgot the false. That's alright, it'll just go around the extra time if it needs to. It's not a problem. Alright, so what we're going to do here, instead of echoing it as a string, we're going to do base 6 directions dot direction piston orientation equals that. And then we're going to basically do the exact same thing we did again, except instead we're going to check the direction and make sure it matches that. And we want it to be connected, because we don't want to accidentally grab the mega minor piston or whatever, which shouldn't be facing the same direction like ever, but it's possible. At least on a different ship, maybe. So return use connected block and block dot orientation dot up equals piston orientation. Now, there should still be one on this station, because there's only one elevation piston. But as long as it's not 3, it worked. And, you know, as long as it compiles. Elevation pistons. This would help if I spelled it right. Elevation pistons. Elevation pistons. Cannot convert from int to string. On 19. Yeah, of course not. One. Perfect. Alright, so that's the elevation pistons, such as they are. Then, grid terminal system dot get blocks of type radial pistons if elevation pistons contains block or not is connected block. Return false. Else return true. And this should come up with 2. Yep. Next. Give blocks of type drill rotor. It's connected. You can just use that function. We don't need anything else because there's only the one rotor, and it is the one that we need. And I'm going to go ahead and put these together because they're simple ones. Get blocks of type drills is connected because again we don't want the mega miners drills. Alright, so that's got all of our bits. Well, there's an argument to be made that I want to get the text surface. I'm going to do that. Array, I think, is the one that we were using. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make this a list. Just in case we ever want more. Just be new.
Meteor storm inbound.
Instead of setting this to equals, we're going to do dot add. And then instead of just status display, because this is a list now, we need to do sub-zero. All right. So that has got us the screen, the drills, the rotor, and all of the pistons in appropriate lists. And that's the prefix stuff. And this we're not going to mess with. Void display takes a list of my text surface. panels, string text, boolean clear equals false. For each find my text surface panel in panels, panel dot write text, text not clear, because that parameter in the API is actually append. So if clear is false, we want it to append. If clear is true, we don't want it to append. Very simple. All right. So next we are going to do the cargo check. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to have it return the variables using references rather than a return value, a single return value of true. I'm going to have it return the total amount used and the total capacity, and then we can do the work on that in the calling function. So the first thing we need to do is declare a list of containers. And I can't just call it containers, I actually need terminal blocks because I want to get the drills and the connector as well. We're going to do all our work in the filter function as we often do. So if it's not connected or it doesn't have an inventory, return false. Now, before we come in here, we need to make sure that these variables have been reset. And that reminds me, I need to declare their types. I think that's the data type. Don't really need the F because we're casting it explicitly anyway. Make sure I got that data type right now while I'm thinking about it before I go too much further. Yes, I did. I'm pretty sure I did. As long as that one error, yep. As long as that one error wasn't catching it up, which it wasn't. Okay, so my inventory equals block dot get inventory 0. Used plus equals inventory dot current volume, I think is the name of the volume. Current volume is the name of the variable or the property. And then capacity plus equals inventory dot total capacity. Spelling. Excuse me. Cannot use it inside an anonymous method. That's obnoxious. Well, total capacity is not the right name of the thing, so that's part of the problem. Total volume, is that what it's called? No. Is it just capacity? No. Alright, looking it up. There's only so many guesses it makes sense to mess with before you just look it up. I have my inventory. Max volume. Excuse me. Alright, the way we're going to deal with this nonsense is we are going to declare separate variables out here. I don't know if I can get away with that. I'm pretty sure I could do that in, well, I can do that in JavaScript, but I can also do that here. Perfect. Alright. So now we've got these intermediary variables that we're going to use. And instead of doing this at all, down at the bottom here where we're done, we can say used equals U and capacity equals C. Perfect. So now I'm going to take the risk of making a minor modification to here. It shouldn't make any difference. My fixed point, is that what it's called? Yeah, my fixed point. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have this echo too for now. Whoa, it has to be passed without. Okay, fine. Not overload for method to string takes 1 argument. Well, hopefully this looks right. Otherwise we'll have to cast it to a float or a double. That'll just kind of annoy me, really. It doesn't look right. Oh, I hate you. Alright, fine. Well, first of all, we need to multiply by 100. Or 1,000, rather. Because it's showing us kiloliters, which is just its weird thing. Do I want to cast these where? Cast them here. So now those are cast to doubles, and now we can do the toString with the formatting. What? No. These have to be doubles. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. It's extending the piston. How far down are we? Almost there. Once this is done, we can retract it back up and delete what we've got in main for now. Alright, so there's our cargo check. Now we need to update the drill state. Here's where it's getting tricky. So first of all, we need a member variable, and we're going to set it up as a string. Drill state. And I'm going to put it back up here at the top where it belongs. And I'm going to load it from storage. But only if storage is actually there. that's going to be our default state. So use a switch here, I think. I've never done that in this series so far, and I think that's probably the best way I should do this. That's what I called it, right? Drill state, not drill status. Yeah. Also, before I get too much further, that will save the drill state. Alright, so that's for when it's done and it resets, and it's just going to sit there when it's done with that. That's for when it's drilling. That's for when it's extended the radial pistons and it's retracting them. And that's for when it's finished retracting them and it's advancing the elevation pistons. And I think those are the only ones that we need. So when we're in reset mode, we are going to say, well, first of all, I'm going to create a toggle all. For each block in blocks, block dot enabled equals enabled. So this will either enable or disable every block in whatever list we pass in based on what this is. So if we're in reset mode, we are going to no, I don't need to do that. I can just toggle all. So that will turn off the drill rotors. The drill rotor, there's only one really. And then for each my extended piston base piston in radial pistons. Piston dot velocity equals minus 0.5. And for the radial pistons, I actually do not need a block, because that's all we're doing with the radial pistons. However, yeah, I forgot a letter there. I knew that didn't line up right. It's supposed to. Piston, not piston. Piston in elevation pistons. This will need a block, because this one we need to do piston dot max limit 0 and piston dot velocity equals negative 0.5. So now we're going to initialize this boolean to true, and basically we're going to set it to false if any of our pistons are not where they're supposed to be. No, I'm going to do min limit, because if I do lowest position and the min limit's not right, then that's not going to work. And min limit should be 0, but we may find odd reasons to change that. And then we'll toggle the drills. If we did not change this at any point, then reset is true, and not reset will be false, and we will turn the drills off. If we did change this at all, reset will be false, not reset will be true. This will keep the drills on. And if we're in reset mode, we are not going to change modes for any reason unless we are commanded to do so. So that's going to be an argument here to begin drilling. All right. So now for drill, Well, no, I'm going to change the order of this, because technically we're going to advance first, even if we're only advancing nowhere. Advance the elevation pistons to the right position, drill outwards, and then retract. And this will be the loop right here until we get to reset. And all this is changing settings on the actual block, so we don't have to save the state of those. Although we do need an extra case here for paused. So advance. Although how will we know if we're just starting? Yeah, I'm going to change this back. I'm going to do drill mode first. I mean, it doesn't really matter in this area. It's just, knowing what command to run. Um, mm, 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 mm. Okay. If no, no, yeah. So if we're fully extended, this will stay true. If we find a piston that's not fully extended, this will get reset. And we're concerned about the radial pistons here. And we do want to block because we want to do piston dot velocity equals 0.02 F. Is that what we want to do? Yes, I think it is. Except we need to divide it by the number of radial pistons in each direction because we want that to be the overall speed. So that's going to be divided by radial pistons dot count over 2. So it's going to be 1 on this station. And the speed's just going to be 0.02. But on other stations with more radial pistons, that could be different. Set the piston velocity. Well, first of all, toggle all drills on. Odds are they will already be on, but we'll keep them that way. also. The rotor should be on. Again, should be already, but just to make sure. Is there anything I actually need to do besides extending the pistons? I don't think there is. I'm going to move this down, because right now we're just setting it to extend. We're not worried about changing state. Kind of like with the last one. We do what we need to do first, and then we determine whether or not we're supposed to change anything state-wise. I mean, we're not changing state here, but basically when we decide to turn the drills off, that's fully reset. This is technically resetting, but whatever. It's close enough. Okay. I don't think I need to do anything besides that, so I'm going to get rid of that block. Because if we're not going to fully extend, then we'll set the max limit in the control panel for whatever reason. So drills on, rotor on, extend at whatever speed. Okay, so now extended is true, and we want to do, no, I am going to do a block because I can just do this in one loop instead of doing it in multiple loops. I can do the same thing up above and reset. I'm going to do that. Alright, so extended is true, except here we're going to say extended equals extended and piston dot current position equals piston dot max limit. And I could put this in an if, but I think this looks better. So I'm going to do it that way. We're starting off as true, so if this is true, then it basically becomes the value of this. If this is false, then it doesn't matter what happens here, it's going to stay false. So if the piston is at its max limit, then this will stay whatever this was to start with. Otherwise, and this actually needs to move up. Again, the order here doesn't really matter, but it's helping me kind of organize it. So if extended is false by the time we get down here, then we need to continue on with whatever we were doing. On the other hand, if extended is true after all this, it means that every radial piston is fully extended. So if extended drill state equals retract. So we're really just going to do the same thing here now. Except instead of checking to see if we're extended, we're going to check to see if we're retracted. We want the drills on still, we want the rotor on still. And the main difference here is that instead of going out at 0.2, we're going to come in at 0.5. I said I was going to redo this. I'm going to redo this. so that it's more like the other one. That means this needs to be a block. This needs to be up here. I think I'm going to let it keep spinning. Until we're actually ready to stop. Reset equals reset, and piston dot current position equals piston dot min limit. This is going to be divided by radial pistons dot count over 2. This is also going to do the reset thing. It's still called piston, so that's fine. And this is also going to be the scaled value, but this is going to be elevation pistons divided by 2. F. I don't know if I need the F there. I don't think I do, but whatever. So now instead of looping through all of these a second time, just get rid of that. So reset's going to start off as true. Anytime it comes to one of these being false, it will decide to keep the drills in the rotor on. If it doesn't, and it gets all the way through that, if the pistons are all at their min limit, then it will turn everything off. But it's not going to mess with the state, because once it's reset, it needs to stay reset. So then this one, extended is true. Turn everything on. Actually extend the pistons. Try to prove that it's not actually extended. If it is extended, then it's time to retract. So now that we are retracting, retracted is true, keep everything on, pull it back, try to prove that it is not retracted. So we're looking for the min limit now. Nope, and this needs to be retracted as well. If retracted, drill state equals advance. So now for advance, so far this is all pretty repetitive, there might be some way to factor this into a single function. I'm not going to worry about that for the time being, though. Boolean advanced equals true. Make sure the drills are on. Make sure the rotors are on. For each, my extended piston base piston in elevation pistons this time. Now we don't have to worry about going super slow anymore because we're not actually drilling when we advance. That was kind of the whole point of what we're doing right this second with this code in main, is to do all the sideways drilling from the fully retracted radial piston position. So this is all just about moving down, and then we're actually doing the drilling outward. So this can be a little bit faster. So piston velocity is going to be 0.5F divided by elevation pistons dot count. Now these are elevation pistons. There's only one of them. You know, there's not two directions. There's only one direction. So I don't need that extra parentheses there because we're not dividing by 2. So I'm just going to do that. Divided by elevation pistons count. We're doing an equal sign here. This is not a function call. 0.5 divided by the elevation pistons count. But, oh crap. Because the thing is if it's staying in this state, then it can't keep adding to max limit. And I do have to add to max limit at least once. And I think the best way to do that, honestly, is just to come back up here. Even if that makes this block a little more complicated. Because now it'll only do this once. So, because once this becomes retracted, it's going to switch states on you. So it's going to switch states, it's going to increment the limit overall by 1, depending on how many elevation pistons there are altogether. Then it'll be in here. And it'll make sure that the velocity is set to actually do the increase. even though it probably will be already. So this does not need to be a block. Yes, it does, because we need to check the status. Advanced equals, I spelled that wrong. Advanced equals advanced, and piston dot current position equals piston dot max limit. If advanced drill state equals drilling. No, equals drill. That's what I called it. However, there's a wrinkle in this one. In that damn it, because it's already doing the thing up there. So the wrinkle is actually here. Where is it? It's here. So drill state equals advanced, but, I want that to be a loop. Yeah, make that be a loop. I'm gonna do it in this one. If piston dot max limit equals piston dot highest position, well, first, if not that, then do this. Else. Okay, so if the max limit is not at the highest position, then advance it, but also set reset to false. Then outside the loop, if reset this down here. Okay, so the way this is working now, if it's retracted, if it's fully retracted, then assume that we're going to reset, but then go through the elevation pistons and actually check if they're at their max, if they're not at their max limit rather, if the max limit that's set already before we increment it at all does not equal the highest position, which is 10. So if these are not at 10, then reset's false and increment it by however much it needs to be incremented. If we get through here and we find even one piston that's not at its highest position, if the limit is not at its highest position, then reset will be false and we will change to advanced state. If not, if we get all the way through this and we haven't changed reset, then we're already fully extended on the elevation pistons and we need to reset because we're done. If we get into advanced, then advanced is true, keep all this stuff on, loop through the elevation pistons, increase the velocity, or set the velocity up, check and see if the piston is at its max limit. If we've gotten all the way there, all of these were at their max limit, then we switch into the drill state. Pause. Doesn't I want to do that? I want to include some more toggles here. Toggle all radial pistons, reset, not reset, same as the other ones. Toggle all elevation pistons, not reset. If we're drilling, toggle all radial pistons, true. Doesn't really matter what the elevation pistons are doing because they shouldn't be moving. Couldn't have gotten here if they were. Retract, same thing. Toggle all radial pistons on. Advance. Toggle all elevation pistons on. Now, if we are in pause, we want to toggle all radial pistons off. Toggle all drills off. See how we did. Me. It's 7. What's your problem? Blind 7. All the way up here. Oh. String equals drill state. No. String drill state. We're declaring a variable. Cannot convert int to bool. 35. If storage.length does not equal 0. Operator cannot be applied to a list and a float on 88. That's because that's supposed to be elevation pistons dot count. Argument 1 cannot convert from a list of drills to a list of terminal blocks. No, it's because it needs to be a template function. Toggle all is a list T, where T is a class and an INY terminal block. I think that's how I write those. Strings are not allowed on non-generic declarations. What? I'm going to come back to that one. Well, apparently I'm not, because I think that's what all the rest of these errors are. Alright, I remember how to do this. I actually don't. I'm just going to look it up. I did it somewhere else. I think it's on the ice station already. Toggle blocks. No, I need to do toggle blocks T. Alright, whatever. Back to the platinum station. Back to the controller. There we go. A local or parameter named reset cannot be declared because the name is used already. Terminal block does not contain enabled. Okay. Because this has to be a functional block. Parameter name reset on 117. Because the scope already contains it. I mean, it technically doesn't. No, because that's the one that is used more, and I'll have to change more things. So I'm just going to do it here. Call it can reset. There we go. Now, this isn't actually being invoked yet, because I want to make sure that this is actually done first. It should be. We've been doing this long enough. Yep. Current position is 10, so it's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit. And I'm going to pull this out after here. So all it's doing right now is checking the cargo level and echoing it out. I'm going to use display here instead. Status panels. And do true so it clears it. And put a unit on there. So that's the percent full. If percent full is greater than 0.95, then drill state equals pause. Update drill state. If update type is not equal, update type none, drill state equals arguments. That's dangerous. If reset drill retract because contains arguments. Then do that. Oh, 156. Yeah. No, wait, no. That's fine. What's the problem? Okay. 146. No, it needs to be in parentheses. Status panels does not exist in that context. What did I call them? Status display. Fine. Although, actually, I think I want it. No, because it should automatically be in reset mode to start with. I'll actually have to send it a drill command to get it started. Alright, so let's try that. Reset mode. Good. It's pulling those up. Those are both fully retracted. They're off, 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 off. And if I send it the argument of drill, it's in the drill mode. That is on. That is extending. That is on. That is on. Although I want to spin this faster now. This should be spinning now. Let's call it 3. Alright, so we should be done. And I'm going to regret the positioning of that. Yep. Can live without it. So I'm going to. Now I have a concern about battery power, which I'm going to address by making some solar panels. And I'm going to make those solar panels by going out this way a couple blocks. Like that, because I need to go up. I can't go down. Down is not an option because down will get drilled, as we've just seen. And I need some steel plates to do that. Alright, so yeah, the next thing I'm going to do, I think this is working well enough at this point now. I'll keep an eye on it, kind of test it out a little bit, and if I'm happy with it, then we'll try copying this over to the uranium station, because that's really the test, because on the uranium station we have extra elevation pistons. I'll also need to try it on the ice station, because we have extra radial pistons on that one. So really we need to test it on all of them. But yeah, that's the plan for now, and once this is all done, making components, I will put the solar panels together the rest of the way. So, bit of a long episode, but hopefully you got something out of it. Next episode, we'll probably honestly just be flying around to the various stations just to pick up the cargo that we've got there for one, and see how the script operates in that context for two. Um, so subscribe to see how that works out. Likes, comments, and verbal abuse are welcome. Thanks again for watching. Sorry it was long and hopefully it wasn't too boring. See you next time. Bye now.